Hey, good morning, everyone, or good evening, actually. My name is Joseph Steven Stoda. I'll change my name here eventually up on the dashboard and make it all legit, things like that. But I'm the past district director of District 33 and very proud to have been able to do that. But before we get started, if you're not speaking, please mute yourself. The purpose of this Get More Out of Toastmasters has been and still is to get people interested in leadership. And we know often come the end of May or June or sometimes July, we're begging people be club presidents or area directors or just something outside their comfort zone. And most of us on here have already been through different leadership levels of what we're doing. And quite frankly, I don't think we'd rather be anywhere else in this world because we see the benefits, how it's helped us in our careers, our relationships, everyday life, not just being a Toastmaster, but actually being involved in leadership. And what I'm able to do, or what I search for each and every month, the 5th of every month at 7 p.m., except for Cinco de Mayo, we did change that date this year, is to get different people who worked up at different levels of leadership and talk a little bit about what they've done and why they're still Toastmasters, some 10, 20, 30 years later or 40 years later, like Twyla, because she just loves this stuff. I don't think she even knows how many clubs she's in. I think you're alarm set for every other hour to be somewhere. So that's always pretty exciting. But a couple months ago, I was the immediate past District 33 director. But recent, I invited Steve Goldstein to join us today because he was this close to being District 33 director. But no, we kicked him out. So he started his own district. Isn't that crazy? Because when I started the journey as a club growth director, we were the top 5. So we had 2 club growth directors, we had 2 program quality directors, and that time Tim Mullins was our district director. Well, I'm sure Steve will talk all about that as time goes on. But just on the outset, we're here at Vanessa's, her niece is getting married tomorrow. And actually, we have someone from District 115 here from Las Vegas helping us to bring in the celebration. So we have people from all over the country. It's a really good time. But that's enough about me. Before I forget, all I want to say is Toastmasters rock. So please help me welcome distinguished Toastmaster, probably 10 times over, Steve Goldstein. Take it away, Steve.
I think
You're
you're on
muted.
mute,
You're muted,
Steve.
Steve. You're muted.
Now I'm not muted. I was asked to come tonight to talk a little bit about leadership, about the experience, about what it's done for me and my personal skill sets, what it's done for me business-wise. And I'm usually a pretty humble person, but I'm going to start with a little background. I've been tagged as a leader for a long time. And I'll give you a little example. I was president of my college fraternity. I was a chairperson for SOS, that would be student orientation in the 70s at my college. I did 6 years worth of college in 4 years and got a bachelor degree as well as 2 degrees in printing management. I moved on to my industry, and within 5 years, I was promoted and ran an office of 37 people. I moved up in all of these organizations. I moved in Boston before I moved to Las Vegas. I served as president of Graphic Arts Professional Organization, young professionals, and that put me with a voting seat on the board of directors of Printing Industries of New England. I learned a lot from being on the board of directors of a nonprofit organization, especially one as large as Printing Industries of America. I moved here to Boston and I got tapped right away. I was a member of BNI, Business Network International, back in Boston, doing great networking. And moved up in a few officers in my chapter, but moved here to Las Vegas and wanted to see BNI and how networking was working here. I called the executive director, visited 2 chapters, and within 30 days, she asked me to be a director. Now, I was a director for 14 years. I gave up being a director of BNI to make room to be in the trio for Toastmasters. I was also on the board of directors of a $2 million nonprofit for 7 years, of which 2.5 I was president of the board of directors of a $2 million nonprofit. And we were building our name and our brand. I went to their 30th anniversary this year, and they're now an $11 million nonprofit. Well, while I was here, I served as an advisor at a high school. And after the 4th meeting, they made me chairperson of the council for the high school. And I said, you know, just because I run a good meeting, that doesn't mean that you want me. I could still participate. But it's true. In BNI, in 14 years, I started many chapters. I'm the only person in Southern Nevada that started a chapter and grew a chapter to over 50 members. I also did training twice a year for all of the officers. I managed the membership committee of 5-7 people. I went to, I would say, at least 15, 18 BNI meetings a month. I also did a monthly new member orientation. So why am I telling you all of this? Because I believe that all of these past experiences led me to become district director for Toastmasters. I resigned from BNI to be in the trio. I resigned from the board of directors of that nonprofit to be in the trio because I'm also a business owner. How many hours could I work? When you're district director, some of you know, but it's another full-time job on top of a full-time job. It's never ending, except for the little times you get a little sleep in between. So I humbly say that so that we can move forward and say, I had the opportunity to develop a lot of these skill sets. I even taught printing sales in Boston for 7 years. And that what really moved me towards Toastmasters. They asked me to speak once at a college, Northeast University. I agreed to go. They asked for an outline. I gave them an outline. I got there the day I was supposed to talk, and they said, oh, no, we're not in this room. We're in a larger room down the hall. So you hear the word larger, and can you hear my heartbeat a little faster? Well, we go down and they open the door, and it's one of those 2 or 3 tier auditoriums. And they've got like 300, 400 people in there. And then they introduce me and I come out there and my heartbeat was really going. But I was fine after I got the first few sentences out. My humor kicked in, everything was fine. But after that, I said to myself, you know, if I got more training, this could actually be fun. That's when I saw the speech classes for $1,999 and, you know, workshops and all this other stuff. And then I found Toastmasters. I went to a few meetings in Boston, but I knew I was moving to Las Vegas. One of the meetings I went to happened to be at Bose Corporation. They had a company Toastmasters club, but they opened it to the public. Now I sold printing. I'm a printer, by the way. I sold printing to Bose Corporation. So I decided to go visit that chapter. And the president of that chapter greeted me at the door, shook my hand, introduced himself, and I met him again when I moved to Las Vegas. You might know him. His name is Darren LaCroix. Oh, I got a few reactions here. That's what I'm talking about. Shaking your head is a universal sign of agreement. Okay, so I met Daryl LaCroix. Matter of fact, I've been emailing him all week. I'm getting stuff ready for him to take to the Toastmaster conference, being his printer here in Las Vegas as well. But the experience was really something. I joined Toastmasters here because I wanted to learn how to write with an opening, a body, and a conclusion. And like the sucker I am, I fell for the leadership track in Toastmasters. It was just natural for me to evolve, to help, to mentor, to work with people. Now, let's talk about my career as a printer. I've been a printer for over 45 years. I graduated at RIT, one of the top 3 printing schools in the world. I told you I took 6 years worth of college in 4 years. And when I moved here to Las Vegas, the local printing organization within 8 months made me president of the local printing organization here in Las Vegas. I just can't keep away from it. It just seems to follow me around. And as Toastmasters, we know you never say no, right? You just have to be asked. And when you're asked, you go, okay. Well, I found that those skill sets in business that I learned, how do we communicate with our clients? How do we do a soft sell? Well, I taught a soft sell. And what it is instead of saying, sign the contract right here, you say, well, Joe, do you want me to send the samples to your office and the balance to your warehouse? It's a question you can only answer if I've got the job. So yes, I have a pushy tushy. I do that quite a bit. And I teach other people how to do it in a nice, friendly, communicating way. Communications. Hewlett Packard called me up and they want me to print sheets for them. But I'm just one of many printers in Boston. And they kept calling me for the same exact 8.511 with a model and something on the back and so on. So I decided what I would do is I'd make up a price list. And I called it on the top contract prices. Now, I didn't have a contract with Hewlett Packard, but I gave it to the buyers. And after about a year, people in the buying office were saying, oh, we have a contract with Steve Goldstein for doing this. And I not only tripled, I probably got 10 times the business from Hewlett Packard. But it was in a nice, friendly kind of way. Now, Hewlett Packard asked me to fill out a questionnaire that was given to me in a PowerPoint format. And they asked me to fill this out to become vendor of the year. Now, I'm not one of their big vendors. I'm a little tiny guy in a big pool, but at least I'm in the A pool, not the B, C, or D pool. So how do we communicate? We have to learn. If some people like text, we have to text them back. Don't call them. Some people like to call, don't text them. They sent me a PowerPoint presentation. So I filled it out and gave it back to them as a PowerPoint presentation. And that year I was the #2 vendor for Hewlett Packard. Why? I don't know why. I think it's because I communicated the way they thought I should be communicating with them. How does that relate to Toastmasters? How does that relate to business? Well, you know, I've got some friends here that are past district directors as well. And Guy Dawson and I, we drove to District 33 conferences for years together. We were roommates. Well, until I met Ivy, then I told him, I'm sorry, she's taking your place. You have to get your own room. But the truth is that, you know, we still have breakfast and talk, and the same thing. His business flourished after he became immediate past district director. Well, what happened to me and to Flora? Well, we were part of that 5 trio. We were building 2 separate trios of 3. And when we split, I had been club growth director, program quality director, and my training as district director. Twice a year, they send us all over to train us to how to run a district. And what happens? I take over the first district director of District 115, and 5 months later, the pandemic comes. And I've got all these members. I've got 1,600 members. I've got 74 clubs that all of a sudden can't meet in person and have to adapt a Zoom format. Now, it's true. Every night I was on YouTube trying to learn Zoom. I did that for hours, for cramming for a week. Lucky I had people that were skilled, more technically skilled than I. Kristen Harrell, now Kristen Baker. Kristen Baker, now Kristen Harrell, is very technically savvy. So it was really great to have a team. And we dealt with it. For those of you that know the book, Who Stole My Cheese or Who Moved My Cheese, it's the best book ever written about change and how to deal with change. Well, all of those experiences led me to be district director. And when I was, and we had this pandemic come and we had to have change, we needed to react calmly, coolly, and be the leaders and the trainers to help our members and help our clubs move forward. And it was a phenomenal experience. It really was. I think that I get so much out of life in a club level, mentoring new members, doing a new member orientation, just like I used to in BNI, getting up and doing an educational moment and talking about we are a region, there's 14 regions, and here's a handout, and we're just this region, and we have this many districts, and this is where they are. And people don't realize what a huge organization this is. And we can do so much as a nonprofit. So our communication skills and our skill sets that we develop are not only for the enhancement of our clubs, of our areas, of our divisions, of our districts, but of us as individuals, and if we're business people, as business participants as well. As a business owner, here I was trying to handle the pandemic for 6 months while I'm trying to run my business, which was sinking hugely. I mean, no one's doing any printing. Everything is on standstill. Companies are not meeting anymore. They're just surviving. So I think about change, think about that, and say, okay, how can I reinvent myself? So I accented my business on printing graphics and signage. Signage tends to be a little bit more profitable than printing, but still no one's buying. So I went to one of my top clients and I said, you're a timeshare right here in Las Vegas. You have offices all over, I don't know, 60, 70 offices. I mean, branches, timeshares, different locations. I'm presently doing business in 4, Las Vegas, Arizona, Texas, and Florida. I said, how can I get to do business with more? He said, well, you have to be sponsored to become a national vendor by a regional marketing person. I said, oh, okay. Now, 4 months ago, weren't you promoted to the West Coast Regional Marketing Manager? He said, yes. And okay, I'll sponsor you. I said, that's great. So he went and sponsored me. I tend to do these die-cut covers for Las Vegas and all these sheets that go in it, door hangers, thank you cards, envelopes, this whole packet of welcoming their guests. And they did a Zoom meeting with all of their marketing departments in the United States. And after showing the package, 30 locations in 22 states signed up to do work with me. And last year was the best year, dollar volume, in the 18-year history of my company. And I've already been a half this year, and I'm going to beat last year this year. So talk about coming out of the pandemic. Talk about the skill sets we have, working smarter, not harder, helping other people. It always comes back to you. And I can tell you that if someone told me how much work it would be to be a district director, I would have said, no, thank you. But once you're committed, you're in. And I am so glad that I did do it because it increased my skill sets tremendously. It has helped me become a better business owner and a better communicator. And when you're in the trio, you meet some of the most incredible, brilliant people all over the world. And I never would have sat at lunch with a district director from another country, or with Dan Rex talking about skiing or recipes, or, you know, chit-chatting, not about Toastmasters, but about life. It's really, really great. You never hear about the elevator speech. You know, you get in an elevator and the person you really want to have business with is in the elevator. What do you say to him in 2 minutes before he gets out? That's impressive that he'll let you in his door. Well, one of the things is, if it's a movie star, you don't want to say, oh, you're great in those films. I watch all your films. I love it, because everybody else says that. Say to him, hey, where do you eat? What restaurants do you like to eat in? Now you're a human being talking to another human being. We need to learn how to communicate on different levels. And being a district director and meeting all of those people from all those other countries, and the people that run Toastmasters at our world headquarters, was an experience that offsets the fact that it was so much work. A year comes and goes so quickly. And then I could say I'm truly blessed to be a past district director. And with that, I kept all the skill sets and everything I learned and the friendships that I made. And I miss District 33 quite a bit. So that's my scope on how Toastmasters can help. If you look at me as an example, I think that I was meant to go into leadership before I even walked in a Toastmaster door. And I went in to learn how to write with an opening, a body, and a conclusion. But I fell in love with the leadership track. Why? Because it was in my nature, in my blood, along with the magenta from being a printer. I just wanted to help and mentor people. And Toastmasters gave me the opportunity to take that to an incredible level. So I say to all of you, what are you doing to increase your skill sets? How can you personally evolve to the next level? Well, become an area director, division director. You can be a chair for a lot of the committees that go on. And you could just mentor a new member, do a new member orientation, but give back, because that's what makes the heart feel good. And you say things and you remember them as you say it. And it really does help spreading the knowledge. Now, Joseph, is there anything you'd like to ask me?
Well, actually, yeah, I love how you said give back. And that's something I've learned as I worked my way up the leadership chain. I'm like you. I fell in love with the leadership track. I became a better speaker in lieu of what I really wanted. It's very interesting how those things happen. In fact, we heard someone tonight give a toast at the bride and groom to be, and he was horrible. but it was the groom's brother, and I couldn't come up to him and say, it was horrible. Maybe later on in the future I'll be able to do so. It's very interesting because as we grow through this wonderful organization, we see more and more professionals, business owners, CEOs, doctors, lawyers, all walks, librarians, right, Twilight, and everything else out there. What do you say to the young entrepreneur who's new in business and they don't have time for Toastmasters or anything new because they have to focus on the business? What do you say to them? Is Toastmasters even that important early on in the game?
Well, first of all, I was involved in a Gavel Club here for 12 years. And I went to Foothill High School twice a month for 4 hours for 7 years. And what I said to these high school kids are, the skill sets that you're learning here, you will have the rest of your life. And trust me, I wish I learned them sooner. I think I could have done more in life had I not started a little later. So what do you say to the young Toastmasters, the new business people? What do you do to become better at your business? Do you read something for 20 minutes every day in your trade magazine, this or that? You really need to keep focused on what you want to do, whether you're an accountant, whether you're a printer, whether you're whatever you do, a business coach. You need to focus on that every day. But, okay, so you have a goal of 5 days a week. That's okay. What about your personal skill sets? What good does all of that do if you can't impress someone when you open your mouth? Trust me that taking a year of Toastmasters minimum, and once you take a year, you'll do multiple years. But once you do a year to increase your skill sets, you will see as a young Toastmaster that you have grown and you're a better salesperson, a better human being, a better communicator. Whatever you do, you'll do it better. You know the old joke, don't you? I had a fight with my girlfriend and I sat there and I listened to her very intently. And then when she was done, I said, well, you had a really good opening. I thought it had a lot of good points. Your body has a lot of merits, but your closing lacked a little. All right, I got a couple of laughs here. It's the same thing. We learn how to evaluate and be kind at it. We learn how to communicate better, and it makes us better in all aspects of our lives. The kid comes up and says, I don't want to clean my room. And you know how to answer. You say, you mean you don't want to clean your room? And it starts a conversation rather than a yelling situation. I slowed my speech. I ended in a question. I threw it in the child's lap. And they're old enough to know they're being hooked, line and sinker. But these are all the things we learn and share.
I love that. It's funny you mentioned that 2-minute elevator pitch. That's how I got into Toastmasters. I was started a small business. I was one of those coffee shop meetings where all business owners, everyone had 30 or 60 seconds to give their pitch and then 10 minutes to someone. And I don't know, maybe in 30 seconds, I thought it was great. I don't even know what I was talking about. I thought it was great. But the guy next to me grabbed my sleeve, was like, well, you might want to rethink this again because you're not quite understand what the program is. But with something like that, someone invited me. A question, please put your questions in the chat box. But one of the things we got, like, what's one of the best things, Steve, that you would pass on to others, maybe words of wisdom to make a difference in Toastmasters in all of our lives? Like, what's that one best thing you can pass along? And there's lots of them.
I have to go back to mentor-mentee one-on-one. I think that's the key to strong Toastmasters clubs. I think that retention in Toastmasters clubs is a big problem. And if we do a member orientation, because people absorb that information at different rates, some closer, some faster. And if you give them all that material and let them do it at their own pace with a mentor to answer their questions, you will find that you're not filling those empty seats over and over and over and over again. So these are really true apples that I give out. I believe that they are so true, and if our members in our clubs take it to heart and become mentors for new members, and every new member gets a mentor, and someone in the club does an orientation, which is just going over a bunch of material. It's not, any member that's been a member for 4 to 6 months, if they go to an orientation and see me do it, they could probably do it the next time. It's not anything that's really heavy duty. You're talking about the forms, what is a counter and what's a vote counter, and how do you evaluate people? And here's a few different forms that people use. There's no one approach, and you just go over everything with them. And I think that I'm sorry, what, Joe?
No, I agree with you. I agree with you on that. Twyla has her hand up, and Twyla's been a Toastmaster a couple years, I believe.
Well,
Yes,
Steve and
a
I
good friend
are
of
old,
mine.
yeah, old friend. I remember Steve he always had a camera in his hand, and you had to watch him because he was running around District 33 taking pictures of everybody. He was the official photographer of District 33 when I first met him.
Yes.
But he's also my personal printer, because I have my Toastmaster business card that I hand out everywhere. I also have my business card that my Sukasa and Critter Sitter business. So he prints those up for me. And when I have my card out, I also do a little promotion about this guy, Steve in Las Vegas, is a great printer. So maybe you'll get some calls from California, Steve, because that's the way we do it. We network even when we're Toastmasters. And I tell
Yes,
my friend
so true.
that call my friend Joseph because he can tell you all about veteran services. And call my friend Vanessa because she makes a great speaker at a women's club. So I have all kinds of recommendations for all the people I know. So it's a friendship you build that has layers and layers and layers and layers the longer you live in Toastmasters. So thanks, Steve.
Great to see you, Twyla.
Well, I totally agree with that. It's so important that we share information, help one another out outside of the clubs. And I find the most successful clubs are those that get together after or before a meeting or on the weekends, or if someone's having a party or giving a speech at their job or bowling, whatever it is. When the club members get together to support them, you have a strong club, but more importantly, you have a strong friendship. And that's something that a lot of clubs don't quite understand. A little more tricky on Zoom, but I've been to a club in Italy, probably Rome or something a year ago, and they start every meeting with the happy hour. They get the glass of wine up in the air, they toast the meeting before the meeting, and it turns out that's a great time. And I encourage people over and over again, go visit a club, not just outside your area division, outside your district, outside your region, and find out what other people are doing. You'll either come back and love your club even more, or you'll bring back some great tidbits there. And that's so important. So I love those kinds of things. Any other questions for Steve while we got him here? Okay, well, Vanessa has a
No,
question.
I can't print $100 bills. I'm sorry, I can't do that.
There's always time.
I actually don't want $100 bill, but I just wanted to say hello and so glad to know that you're still offering on the speaking circuit. I haven't heard from you in the past year.
Good to see you, Vanessa.
You're still there, and I would like to be in touch and stay in touch and hopefully invite you to other speaking opportunities if you're still up for that.
Appreciate that. I don't know if a lot of you know, but I had to twist Steve's arm because tonight's his date night. I don't know what excuse he made for Ivy, but he's with us tonight rather than her at the moment. And sometimes we have to make sacrifices, but we appreciate HU, and we don't go to Vegas as often as we used to, but we're getting back there. I only been there 3 times this year.
What it is steak and lobster in a half an hour.
Well, you can give me a 30-day notice. I think I gave you like a 3-day notice, but anyways, a 30-day notice, we'll see what we can do. I love it. Any last questions for Steve before we let him have a steak and lobster?
Well, I would just like to say
Yeah.
thank you, District 33, for inviting me tonight. It's like a fireside chat. It was great. I really missed District 33. As things solidify here, I hope to venture out to some of maybe your conference or some of your meetings, whatever I can do. You never know, but I do miss everyone. And it was great being here. And thank you, Joe and Twyla and everyone, Vanessa and
We appreciate,
Joel, everyone.
we have Joel from Thailand in the house, and we have Chris from that cheesehead nation, Wisconsin, somewhere in the house. And so.
Hey, the Packers are playing tonight. Packers versus Packers. It's a full house.
Packers in the house. Beautiful. Well, once again, are you going to be in Nashville?
No, I'm not. I'm
Okay.
going to be overseas.
Oh, no, never mind. Well, we will be in Spear because it's such an international event. But
Yeah.
anyways, any last words of wisdom before we let you go?
When are you
Giving
coming
back.
to District? When are you coming to
You-
District 33 again, Steve?
Probably, I'm going to try to come for the conference next year.
Oh, great, 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 great.
But mentoring is so close to my heart. All I can say, my parting words is, mentoring makes you a better person, a better human being. So we all need to give back. And I have 3 rescue dogs right here. I have many mentors and mentees that have mentored me, and I've mentored many, many more. So do a little of that and feel the goodness in your heart.
All of us, Steve.
Night, night.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate you.
Thank you so
Okay.
much. Hello to Ivy.
It was great.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. The next month, we'll have something else like this. And we're always looking for input on what everybody else has to share because, hey, it's up to us to grow this organization in our districts, wherever it is. So it's so important to give back, get some good feedback, and let's continue the tradition. But I'll see all of you in a club somewhere in the very, very near future, of course. So thank you. Today is, what is it, August 5th? August 5th, 2022, District 33, Joseph Skoda, over and out. See you, Cuddles.